Good morning, it's Loren Lockman from the Tanglewood Wellness Center. You know, I'm often asked by people, is fasting the only way that the body can heal? I mean, anytime someone asks me, I've got this situation, what do you think I should do? My response is usually pretty uniform. And that response is, take the time you need to, get to a place where you can do a supervised fast in a place that you feel comfortable, where you trust the people, and you're going to be able to relax, and spend at least a month there. And people say, yeah, but people heal themselves with diet, people heal themselves with, by doing other things, juices, whatever. And that's often true, and there's no argument there. What I want to point out to you this morning is that two things, really. First of all, if, the people I'm really most interested in working with are not those people that simply want to resolve a single issue. I mean, I'm happy to help those people too, but my real commitment is to working with those people that want to take their health, their vitality, and their overall being to the highest level of health and functioning possible. They want to optimize everything they can. That's really where my commitment lies. And so in understanding that fasting alone, among all the things that we can do, is simply allowing the body the best conditions and opportunity to get out of the way so the body can do what it needs to do, means it's going to be much more powerful than anything else we can do. And it reminds me of a situation where several years ago I had a client who would come to fast with me, and she had a serious condition. She was fasting with a group of other people that she knew, and she happened to be deaf, and so she was with a group of deaf clients. And all the other people that were with her were going to be staying for 4 weeks, but she had booked a 6-week stay as per my recommendation, given her condition. And on the 21st night, when all of her friends were going to be breaking her fast the next day, she said to me, I want to eat tomorrow. I'm going to go home next week. I said, why would you do that? You've already booked the time. You already have your flight. You've already paid, and it's not refundable. Why would you do that? And she said, well, all my friends are leaving. I miss my husband. I want to go home. I said, you came here to resolve a serious issue. And she said, yes, but I already feel better than I felt in several years. So what I attempted to explain to her at that point was a concept that we probably all understand at some level, right? And that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? So you've got a camel, you put straw, a piece of straw on the camel's back. How much does one piece of straw affect that camel? Not much. How about 2? How about 200? Not at all. Eventually, though, that straw adds up. It might be a mountain of straw. It might be hard to get it on the camel's back at all, but you've got enough weight on that camel that it's about all that it can take. And eventually, when you put one more piece of straw on, it's too much. You've crossed that line between what the camel's back can and cannot handle. Now imagine for a second that you have a camel where if you take enough weight off, the back just pops right back up. It's not broken, it's just bent. Right? It was caved in, but it caves back out. Right? So it resolves itself instantly as soon as you take the extra weight off. If you put that last straw on and the back collapses, how much straw would you have to take off to get back to what looks like okay?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
What's my point? My point is that if when you're focused on a single issue, there's a tendency to think, hey, I resolved that issue, everything is good, I'm done. I don't have to do anymore. What I want you to understand is you might be one straw away from seeing that situation recur. The fact that the symptoms are gone doesn't mean your body's completely clean, doesn't mean you're completely healed. It means you've resolved enough for that symptom to disappear, but you might be only one straw away. So I had this conversation with her, and she wasn't particularly moved by it, and she ate the next morning, and she left a week later. And 3 months later, she sent me an email, and she said, now I understand what you were trying to tell me. I went home. I've done pretty well, but I made some compromises. And because I didn't do as much of the work as I could have done at Tanglewood, my symptoms have come back. And she came back a year later, and she did the longer fast, saw it all the way through, and it's now been 4 or 5 years, and she's been better than ever. So you want to give your body enough time to do as much as you can. You want to get as much benefit from the process as you can. I mean, there are people that say, well, look, if I can take care of that issue in 14 days is all I want to do. Okay, but remember, you may not have, in fact, I'll guarantee you haven't given your body a chance to completely cleanse and heal in 14 days. I've never seen it happen in 42 days, let alone 14. Okay? Most of us living in the world today, it's a toxic world. You're not going to completely cleanse your body with one fast of any length. Most people need several fasts, and they need to be making excellent choices in between those fasts to ensure that the body continues to function at an incredibly high level, because the fast is like a giant reset. I mean, there was a point in time when you didn't have the issue you have now, perhaps, unless it was something you were born with, right? We all had a point in time where we didn't have hypertension, or we didn't have arthritis, or we didn't have the diabetes that developed later on, whatever it might be. Fasting's like a giant reset. It allows the body to cleanse itself, to heal itself, and in very real ways, to actually grow younger, bringing us back to an earlier point in time where it functioned at a much better level. But what happens if we then go home and make the same choices we were making before? What happens? Well, eventually, inevitably, the condition comes back. It wasn't an accident. It's not like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I got cancer. I mean, I've talked about this before, so if you've seen all my videos, you've maybe heard this before, but I remember once getting a call from a close friend of mine, and I was probably 30-something at the time. And Joe said to me, he said, "Loren, I've got some really bad news." I said, what happened, Joe?" He said, "My brother Johnny just died." Now, Johnny was like 40 years old, and he said Johnny died of colon cancer. And he was perfectly healthy. Right? And so, it was a kind of a difficult moment for me, because it was so absurd. I didn't really know how to respond to that. But a lot of people seem to believe that you can go to bed perfectly healthy and then wake up dead with cancer or heart disease or something else. It doesn't happen that way. You want to understand that the chronic conditions that most Americans and most people today die from, if not with, if not from, these conditions are the direct result of the choices that people make over 10 or 20 or 30 years. That doesn't happen instantly. Okay? So, no one's unlucky. No one just woke up on what we develop is the result of the choices we've been making. And in some cases, we may not know the impact of the choices we're making. People, there are families that go and live near high-tension power lines where their children develop leukemia. They don't go there, they don't move there knowing, my kids are probably going to get leukemia, but that's okay. They don't know that. But it's that choice to live there that helped create that condition. Okay? Similarly, someone may, and it's hard to believe this happens anymore, but 50 years ago, people took up smoking not knowing the risks involved, not knowing they were very likely to develop lung cancer, emphysema, other problems as a result of smoking. But it doesn't matter whether they knew it or not. The disease develops as a result of the choices they make. Okay, we can eat poorly and think we're eating well. I mean, many people actually do this. Many people think they're eating well because they've taken a crap diet and made it a tiny bit better. And so now what they have is a crap diet that's a tiny bit better. It's still crap. Okay? But they think they're going to be healthy because they're doing better than average. It's not likely to help them very much. They're still likely to develop disease. And something you want to understand, there was a comment on a Facebook group recently. Someone said, well, I'm much healthier, because I do this and that, I'm probably healthier than you are, and you're going to wind up developing cancer, heart disease too, eventually. That's not the paradigm that I live in. The paradigm I live in says perfect health is the natural, inevitable condition unless and until we create disease. So, we live in a world where most people think, well, everyone's going to die of heart disease or cancer eventually, but it doesn't have to be that way. We could not only live, we could live much longer without ever developing these diseases if we take the best care of ourselves. So the first piece is we have to understand what that looks like, because we can't make the best choices if we don't know what they are. Okay? Which is why, as you guys know, education is such a big part of what we do here, right? I want to make sure you guys leave here with as much information as you can to empower you to make the best choices possible if that's what you're disposed to do. If you don't want to make the best choices possible, you don't have to. It's okay. You can do whatever you want to do. But I can almost guarantee you that if you leave here and you go home and make the same choices you made before, you're probably going to wind up in the same situation you were in when you got here. Okay, that's what happens. So understand that there may be many things we can do. We can change our diet. I had a client once that he desperately wanted to come and fast with me, but he ran a small business where he really needed to be there all the time. He just couldn't see a way to get away for a month or more. He had hypertension. He was on multiple medications. He had high cholesterol. He had a bunch of things going on. And he just couldn't figure out how to do it. But he came to a full-day seminar with me. He instantly and completely changed his diet to the diet that I recommend. And in 3 months' time, he was off all the medications. Now, was he therefore as healthy as he would have been had he spent a month with me? No, absolutely not. His body was able, with a much better diet, to eliminate enough of the plaque, to lower the blood pressure, to reduce the cholesterol level, because he stopped eating animal products and other things that cause issues. And he was able to bring his body into a much better level of balance. But would it have been the same as if he had spent 21 days or more giving his body all of its energy to cleanse and heal itself? Absolutely not. There's no comparison. So if what you want is to create the highest level of health possible, then what you need to do is give yourself enough time to fast. And again, you can do a series of short fasts, but it's not the same because it takes the body, on average, about 3 days, 3 to 3.5 days, to begin to move into the deepest part of the process, and 10 to 11 days to be fully into that deepest part of the process. So you could do a series of 1-week fasts, but you would have never achieved the deepest part of the process in any one of those fasts. You could do 4 of those. You could do 1 4-week fast instead, and the 1 4-week fast would probably be 10 or 20 times more powerful. I mean, there's literally no comparison. So I hope that helps. I hope this clarifies things. Again, the first step, as I told each of you when you started with me, anybody remember? First thing you need to do?
To be committed.
Decide what you're committed to creating for yourself. Okay? If you're not sure, or if what you're committed to creating is, well, I just want to get rid of this one thing, you can do that. But that's a far cry from, I want to function and feel as well as is possible given my conditions. Because, it's possible that you're born with some genetic situation that's never going to change. You can still optimize whatever you started with. You can get whatever you have to the best of your ability. And those are the people that I'm truly committed to working with and will bend over backwards for, because they're the ones who are not looking to make excuses, but they're looking to really understand what do they need to do and then willing to do it. And I'll do anything I can to help someone that's truly committed to helping themselves first. Okay? Have a great day. Don't forget, if you want to create an amazing level of health, you can do it. Take care.